Hello everyone, welcome to Ian's Bricks. As you can see behind me, I've got rather a lot of exclusive Lego house sets here. You may have seen my video last week where I went to the Lego house in Billund in Denmark, basically for the day with my friend Duncan, and the purpose was to buy a load of the Lego exclusive house sets that you can get at that particular store. It's basically the only place you can get them, and this is my my Lego booty that I got from the house, and it was yeah, it was a very good trip. I have done it before. I did a similar trip last year, but I did bring a lot more sets back with me this year. I just really want to talk about how my day went, the pros and cons of doing something like this. My plan for most of these sets is to sell them on. I will be building one of the sets, one of the Fabuland sets, because I do like that, and I don't think it would be rather sad if I sort of went and just bought loads of stuff to sell on. I think it is nice to actually have something for myself to build as well. I already have built the pirate set last year when I got that, so I've already got one of those built, so no need to build another one of those. So I just wanted to sort of discuss really how the day went, the costs involved, and if I'm going to be able to make any profit from any of this. So how it worked out. So I did this last year. And the idea was that to get cheap flights over there, so at the moment you can get fairly cheap flights from London Stansted directly to Billund in Denmark. I remember last year, I think I went on a Saturday as well, and they did 3 flights during the day. So I was having a look at flights similar time of year. I wanted to go in March because it's before the theme parks open, so the flights are generally cheaper then because it's only the Lego house that's open, and also the new sets are normally released at the start of March. So I did sort of preempt the fact that this Fabuland set, which I didn't know what it would be at the time, would be available. So it was around about Christmas time, early January, when I started having a look at flights, because that's a very good time of year to look at flights, is just before or after Christmas time. People have got other things on their mind, and they still were doing flights, Ryanair, from London Stansted to Billund. During the week they were only doing 2 flights, so one in the morning, one in the evening, and there actually wasn't much of a gap. I think the flight in the morning was quite late and the flight home was sort of earlier on, so that didn't leave you much time to do anything. And of course, if you get any flight delays or something happens, then you don't really get a lot of time. So I wanted to sort of hopefully get a slightly larger window of opportunity to sort of go and buy some stuff. Now, the flights on the Friday, when I looked in early January, were very cheap. I mean, it was literally £15–16 each way, so literally £30–32 for the entire return journey. That would have been great, but I say the timings weren't great, and also it would have meant myself and my friend Duncan would have had to take time off work, so you have to factor all of these things in. So we did plump for going for the Saturday flights. The flights in the morning were much earlier. There was also a middle of the day flight as well, and then quite a late evening flight, so the timings were a lot better. The costs were a little bit more, but it still wasn't too bad. And I think in total we paid £49 each for the return. I can't remember what the breakdown for that was. I think it was sort of like they were slightly different, but basically the return flight was £49. Now the flight itself is about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half long, so it's not a particularly long flight, but that is still a very good price. You compare that to, I think it's British Airways who fly from Heathrow to Billund, and their flights are, I mean, I was looking sort of recently, and they were sort of looking at £100 each way, and even Norwegian Air, which I think are starting to do flights from Heathrow as well in the summer, they were looking at sort of £70–80 each way. So it certainly was a very good option. Now, the only thing with Ryanair is you have to be very careful, because they will try and charge you for extra things as you go along. They try and get you to pay for your seat, for extra baggage, for extra this, extra that. They literally try and get you to get more money out of you. If you've ever flown Ryanair from the UK or anywhere else, you know what I'm talking about. It's like any budget airline, they have to make the money somewhere. Basically though, I wanted to get the flight as cheap as possible, so that £49 return flight had one small bag that you can take on. It's a very small size bag. You can normally get one set. I actually got one of the ducks inside, and a few other small things as well. And that's literally all you can get. Now, You can pay for hold luggage to go on the aircraft hold, or you can pay for extra luggage to go in the cabin. However, I'd seen last year on my flight that people were just bringing bags and bags of Lego onto the flight. The flight was literally quarter full, so there was loads and loads of room. I think me and Duncan both got a row to ourselves last time, plenty of space. So I sort of just I assumed that was going to happen again. However, when we sort of arrived at the airport itself, the flight was you could see like a week before that the flight was very, very busy. So I was a little bit concerned that Ryanair might try and charge me for extra bags and things like that. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. Going back to the start of the journey then, so we actually went up on the Friday night and we decided well in advance to stay over. Last time I did this, I actually got up like 2 o'clock in the morning, drove to Stansted, got an early flight. It was just a long drive for me, and of course I have to drive back again in the evening. It's a good 2 3/4, 3 hour drive, so it's quite a long way when you've got a full day of doing things as well. I just thought it was worth trying to get a hotel. And I also looked at other options because parking at Stansted is really expensive. I don't know why airports are just charging so much now for parking. But for a day, for less than 24 hours, it's £60 to park at Stansted, which is crazy. I think if you park at somewhere like Heathrow, it's even more, maybe double that. So it's just one of those things you have to sort of factor in when you're working all of this out. And I know there are other options. You can park at Premier Inns, and then they charge you for a shuttle service and all this kind of stuff. What we opted to do was to stay out of Stansted at a place called Harlow. It was a Friday evening, so Travelodge prices, Premier Inn prices were a little bit less. You tend to find that Saturday night's always the expensive night. And we managed to get these hotel rooms, a hotel room each, and it was £36, which I thought was okay. So by the time you factor that in, and then maybe paying for parking the car, which I think was £12 a day, and then getting the train, which was about £9 each return, it kind of worked out a little bit more expensive than both of us paying for parking, but it wasn't that much more expensive. So that was the plan. However, a week before, I checked and thought, I just need to check what time the flight is, what time the trains are. And basically it turned out that there was a replacement bus service that week. So a journey that would normally take 20 minutes on a train direct from Harlow straight into Stansted would take an hour and a half on a bus. Now, of course, when you've already got a long day, the last thing that you need is faffing around on a bus, especially coming back with a load of bags and things, Lego bags. And I rang Duncan, I said, you never guess what, bus replacement service, what are we going to do? So we ended up deciding to just go and park at Stansted, which was another unfortunate cost, another £60 that we had to pay. So it was slightly annoying that we'd sort of arranged to stay overnight and then get the train to make things work for us, but it just didn't happen. And unfortunately, this is the thing with British public transport, you just can't rely on it, and it gets very frustrating, and you're almost forced to take your car. So anyway, we ended up doing that anyway. So yeah, there were slightly extra costs in there involved. I mean, it's ridiculous that parking a car for a day was more expensive than an individual return flight to Billund, but that's just the way things go. Me and Duncan did split all of the costs between us, which also helped as well. So it just meant that obviously £62 for, I think it was, for the car park. We ended up paying £31 each, so it actually wasn't too bad. I still would have preferred not to pay that. Obviously there were other costs as well involved. There was food and snacks and things like that while we were over there. Before we even had a Toby Carvery the night before. Right next door to the hotel was a Toby Carvery, and after quite a long drive on the Friday evening, there was quite a bit of traffic, as you would expect on a Friday evening around the M25. It was a bit of a nightmare. You sort of expect that, and it's another reason why in the past I travelled on the Saturday to avoid all the traffic. But of course, travelling on the Friday night, as painful as it is, it does mean you can get to your hotel, have something to eat, and actually have a decent night's sleep, which I did. I got about 5 or 6 hours sleep, which wasn't too bad, and we had to get up quite early the next morning. I think our flight was at 8 AM in the morning. I think I got up at 5. I think I said in my video, because it's my 500th video, I said 500, so we got up at 5 o'clock. So it all worked out quite well for the actual video I was planning as well. Drove to the airport, parked the car as close to the airport as we could. We got a really good place. It was literally just across the road from where the airport terminal was. And of course, Stansted is quite a big airport. You get a lot of flights going out first thing in the morning. It is a very, very busy airport. But we got through security okay. It was all very well run. No sort of issues, no delays or anything on the way there. A little bit of waiting around when we got to the airport. I prefer to do that rather than rushing around. And so when we got on the flight, it was considerably busier than the flight that we got basically the same day last year. We went on the same weekend. I think it was the 9th of March. We went the 8th of March this year. It was basically the same weekend, but the flight was just considerably busier. It was almost full, and I'm sort of panicking, thinking, "Ooh, are we going to be able to get our Lego bags back on the plane on the way home? They might kind of stop us or start charging us, because Ryanair will charge you for anything if they can." So that was in the back of my mind. I was a little bit worried about that, but anyway, we got to the airport, and I wanted to take some money out. That was the plan, to tap some money out of a cash point, because I'd heard that on the buses you could get an app, but you could also pay cash. Didn't have any Danish kroner, so it was a good opportunity to get some money out, and I totally forgot. We literally walked straight out of the airport building, got in a taxi, and then went straight to the Lego house. And yeah, so totally forgot about getting the cash and getting the bus to this flea market in the next town along. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So we got to the Lego house, and the reason why we wanted to go straight to the Lego house, even though we weren't going in the exhibition of the Lego house, we wanted to go to the Lego shop. And the reason I wanted to go early was because quite often, first thing in the morning, is they will put out some signed sets. And they did actually have some. As you can see maybe here, this set here has been signed by one of the designers. The rest of the sets aren't signed, unfortunately. That was the only ones that were signed. So myself and Duncan picked up 2 each. There were literally 4 on the shelves, and we picked up both of them. I know I'm not displaying my other one here. I think I've packed it away in the attic. I was packing things away yesterday, and I think I must have put it in a box and then put it in the attic, and didn't realise that then I was going to do this video today. So I did actually get 2 of those ducks, even though you can only see one of them. So it was nice to get at least some signed sets. The problem, of course, then is you carrying the sets around, and I'm sure the staff at the Lego house would have kept the sets back for us if we wanted to. There are lockers there, but you can only have use of the lockers if you're going into the Lego house exhibition itself. So we unfortunately didn't have any lockers, but we didn't mind carrying a couple of small bags around with a couple of Lego ducks. They're not particularly large or heavy sets, so it wasn't too bad at all. And then it was just a case, really, we bought those. We sort of decided what we were going to get later on, but we wanted to go and enjoy the day. It was a very nice day weather-wise. We really did look out on that. There was sort of a little period where we'd had some really nice weather in the UK, and that had sort of moved across to Denmark, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And I think in the end it got up to about 18 degrees Celsius, which in sort of mid-March, early March, is very, very good for that part of the world. So it was a beautiful day. So we'd sort of had a look at things and decided to get a bus to a place called Grinstead. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce it. About 20 minutes away on a bus. The bus station in Billund is right across from the Lego house. It's only a 5-minute walk, if that. Duncan was great because he was looking at all the times and when we could get the bus and how much it cost. There seemed to be a flat rate for the buses. It was costing us, was it 520 krona, or was it 52 krona? Anyway, it was around about £2.60 each, 52 krona for the both of us, I think it was. So what's that, about 26 krona each. So it was quite a cheap thing to get, and I say it was a decent journey as well. We found the bus station. We sat there for a bit because we were a little bit early, sitting in the sunshine, and off we went. And the bus was great. It took us straight into this Grinstead, just on the outskirts. Again, a 10-minute walk into the village. We found a toy shop, and we found the flea market as well. And the flea market, you may have seen in my video, had loads and loads of stuff in there. I actually picked up some Fabuland stuff. And I did actually have a look and see what they were. So there was a couple of bikes that I picked up. These were literally 26 krona each. So what's that, around about £3 each. There's a white bike and a red bike. The red bike was quite common, that was done quite a lot, but the white bike apparently was a police bike. They're still in the bags, as you can see. I've still not taken them out yet. Very, very good quality. There was a few each of the red ones, and I sorted through and got the best one. And I got a white one as well. So that's the police fight. And then we also got 3 figures as well, and I've written the names down of these because I couldn't remember what they were. So we got this character here. Now, she is called Bonnie Bunny. There's Bonnie Bunny there. And these are all, this one was 25 kroner, so around about £3 again. We also have Billy Bear, which is the black bear with the white t-shirt there. So we've got Billy Bear as well. He was 20 kroner, so about £2.50. And we also had the Mark Monkey as well. I love some of these names on these characters, which is sort of the red monkey there, which I didn't see too many of those, so I wanted to get something that was a little bit different. And he was 20 kroner as well. So it's just nice to have a look around, really, and see some different things. I probably would have bought a lot more if I had a bit more time to maybe research what some of the characters were, maybe figure out which Fabuland figures I hadn't got, because I was trying to think which figures have I got, which haven't I got. They were certainly ones I didn't have, and I will add them to my collection. I've got a few of them scattered around now. I really need to put them in some kind of display, but it was nice to do something a bit different, because I would have normally gone to the Lego House exhibition, but I'd done it twice before. I went 3 years ago, did it there. It's great fun. I'd definitely say, if you are going to the Lego House and not been before, to do that, because it's definitely worth doing. But I'd also gone again last year with Duncan. We'd both been. He wasn't that fussed about going back. I'd seen it before, so it was sort of a good opportunity to do something a little bit different, and we enjoyed doing the bus journey. It was something different. We got to see somewhere else. The town itself, Grinstead, was very, very quiet, and there weren't many people around, and even Billund itself was generally fairly quiet. I think most people that were milling around, certainly where we were all sort of for the Lego House and things like that. But yeah, anyway, so we got the bus back, went back to the Lego House, and then the trick was then trying to figure out what we were going to buy. Now, one thing you have to be careful about if you're from the UK and going to anywhere is now we're not in the EU, thanks Brexit, is we have to be very, very careful about how much in the value of goods that you bring back to the UK. I think that's at the moment £390 per person, which isn't a lot of stuff. Now you can probably see here all the sets that I've got behind me, including the missing duck, are worth a lot more than £390. The reason how I managed to, or how I decided to get round this was I'd saved up a lot of my Lego Insider points. Around February time there was a double Insider points promotion, and I bought quite a lot of sets then. There was a gift with purchase as well, so it was worth doing, and I'd saved up my Insider points, and I got around about £350 worth of Lego Insider points, and the plan was to obviously offset my sales against those Insider points. So if I was stopped by customs, even though the value of the sets was more than my sort of my allowance, then at least because I'd taken money off those, then hopefully they would see that the value that I actually paid for them was less. But that was just sort of my idea. Whether anything happened with that, we'll have to wait and see. I'll discuss that at the end. But yeah, it was just one of those things I sort of had in the back of my mind, really. I was sort of aware I was bringing a lot of stuff back. Now, if there was 2 of you sharing the amount, that's fine. But obviously I wanted to try and maximise the amount of stuff that I got. So anyway, I went round the store, had a look round. I kind of decided, originally I wanted to buy 5 of the pirates, because I think there was a limit of 5 per sets. I wanted to get 4 of the Fabuland houses, and I was sort of planning to get all of these sets, but when you think about it, it's a lot of sets to carry, and even this amount here in 2 big bags was very, very heavy, and I did struggle with those. The Lego bags that you get are great and they can hold a lot of sets, but I really tried to cram them in, and of course they are quite heavy as well, and you've sort of got these rope straps on the handle, so that did cause me a bit of problem actually trying to carry and maneuver these. I think if you sort of struggle with carrying lots of things, I think you are going to struggle with doing this kind of thing. It may be worth you sort of paying to have sets put in a hole, but even then you've got to bring a bag with you, or a collapsible bag like I did last year. So there's lots of things to sort of think about and weigh up. I was trying to keep my costs down as much as possible, so that's why I opted for the cheap version of actually going on the plane and carrying things myself. So how much do these sets cost then? So I've got a little price list here on my phone. So the ducks and the pirates were 599 krona each. Now, price wise, that works out. So once I'd paid for things, and maybe I didn't get the greatest exchange rate on my credit card, but it basically worked out that those sets there, the Pirates and the Ducks, worked out at £70 each, which is quite a lot, especially for the Duck. I don't like the Duck because it's quite a small set. It's a great set, but I think it's very overpriced for what you get. It's a very small box. I built it. It is great. So the only reason I got them is because it was signed. And that, I think if they hadn't got any signed there, I don't think I would have bought any Ducks this time. We also had the Fabuland, and that was on a slightly more. That was 649 kroner. So it's a new set, and actually you don't get as many pieces in this as, say, this set here, the building systems, but they've decided to put the price up of that. And that worked out at just over £75 for each of the Fabuland sets, and I got 3 of those. They also had the systems building here. Now, I don't think this has been particularly popular. This was released last year, and the original price was 699 kroner, 700 kroner, which probably works out at just over £80, which is quite a lot. They've obviously not been selling many of them because it was reduced. I don't think there's anything wrong with the set. I think it's quite a nice set, but maybe it's just more of a niche market and doesn't maybe appeal to that many people. But it is quite a nice looking set, and what you don't see on the back of this wall here, there's lots of like little mini micro scale versions of older style Lego sets, so it is quite a nice looking set. So anyway, they were reduced from 699 kroner down to 489 kroner, and that works out at around about 57-ish pounds for the UK. So that made that set much more appealing. So that's why I bought 2 of those. I mean, maybe I would have bought more if I had the room to carry them. So there were certainly some good deals in there. I also did get some pick-a-brick. So they had loads and loads of pick-a-brick, as most Lego stores do, but what they did have is they had these big vats at the back by the window of masonry bricks, and they had all sorts of different colours. I've actually sort of put these now, taken them out of the boxes. These are the boxes that you get them in when you're in the Lego store, and this is sort of I got loads of bags of these. I don't quite know how I'm going to sell these on. I'm going to probably sell these on at fairs and things. I might keep some of the bricks myself for any little mini projects that I think I might have. But yeah, I've got loads of these bags. We've got I say we've got dark green, the sand green. There's these 4x1 in the dark grey. All the rest of the 2x1s. We've got light tan. We've got what's that? Dark red is that? I don't know what colour that is. We've got brown, and we've got sand blue as well. So I've got a variety of different colours. I've got 5 boxes altogether. They were quite expensive. They were 170 kroner per large box, which basically worked out at just under £20. Now I think in the UK, is it £17.99 at the moment? Maybe, I can't remember what the price is. It's a while since I bought Pick-a-Brick, but certainly it worked out a little bit more expensive than say the UK would be. However, when I did buy all of this, and I think my total spend, if I hadn't got any discounts, would have been I think it was 7,377 kroner, something like that. I think I worked that out right. I actually, that turned out to work out once I'd got it on my credit card. Maybe I didn't get the best fees on my credit card. Worked out at £862, which is a lot of money. Now, obviously, I was a little bit concerned because I've gone way over what I should have had on my allowance. However, I had my Insider points actually worked out as a discount of £335, which means that this all actually cost me £527. So yes, it was probably a little bit more than I should have spent, but I did have all my receipts. One thing that's very, very important to say, if you are UK based and going to the Lego house, you can claim your tax back. You'll only be able to do this if you're going through the airport. If you're travelling by car and taking stuff back, it won't work. You have to go through like a customs declaration thing at the airport. It is a bit of a faff to do, and again, you do get not ripped off, but there's an exchange. You have to you get the money back, and then they change it into pounds. And you know, originally when you're doing it in the Lego house, they say, oh, we can put it back. They can put it back on your credit card. Well, when you get to customs, they can't put it back on the credit card. You have to have the cash. You can have any cash. You can have euros. You can have Danish kroner. Even my friend Duncan got some Japanese yen because he's going to Japan in a couple of weeks' time. So you can get it in any currency you want. But by the time we'd sort of converted it about 3 times, and it was supposed to be around about £68 back in Danish tax I was supposed to get, it actually worked out at just over 55. So again, you get ripped off by all of these things. But it's still £55 back, and it's definitely worth doing. Yeah, so if you don't know, if you go, you have to have your sets with you. Although this time, I know when Duncan did it last year, they checked every single individual set that he had. Whereas this year, the girl on the counter, I think because it was late, they closed at 8 o'clock, and we were there about 7 o'clock. And she just basically had 2 receipts, one for the ducks, one for the rest of the stuff. And they stamp it, they look at it. I go through each item. She could see I had loads of stuff, but she didn't look at the individual items. And then they give you a receipt, and then you have to go through the security check, and then you have to go upstairs, and then you have to then go to another change counter, and then they stamp it and look at it and all this kind of stuff, and then eventually give you your money back. So it's quite a long-winded thing. You have to get the guys at the Lego store to do something as well. They look at your passport, put your passport number on, do this whole sort of receipt thing that they sign, and then I have to sign. So it's all a lot of a faff, really, but for money back it's definitely worth it. And again, that was part of the once I got to customs and they said, well, hang on a second, you spent £527, I'd be like, well, actually I got £55 back as well. So even if I did end up getting collared and having to pay some of the VAT back, it would have only been the difference between the 390 and the 475. So I would have only hopefully had to pay a small amount of VAT. But anyway, that was the plan. That's I was being a little bit cagey about getting money back and all this kind of stuff when I was at the Lego house. Anyway, going back to the Lego house, then we sort of got all the sets that we wanted. I was trying to figure out how to carry this stuff. Duncan had got 2 big bags as well, and it was just a case of we actually ended up getting the bus back to the airport because it was cheaper than a taxi. I think the taxi worked out at around about £19 for a short journey, whereas the bus for both of us was 552 kroner, which is probably around about £5.50, £6. So it was a lot cheaper to get the bus. So we did that on the way back, trying to save a little bit of money. Of course, it was difficult because I had my 2 massive bags as well, and they were getting heavy by that stage as well. Anyway, we got to the airport, as you heard, we got through customs and did all of that. Managed to sit down. Really nice airport, actually, Billund Airport. It's not particularly large. There's not too much to walk around. There's little areas upstairs where you can get something to eat, and the food is a little bit expensive, but it's very nice. Again, we did get something to eat. I wasn't that hungry because we'd had sort of a burger and chips earlier on. There was like a kiosk outside the Lego house earlier in the day, which we bought some food at. So I wasn't particularly hungry. So we got a couple of snacks and things like that. My next worry was, of course, that this flight back was quite busy again. Duncan had got a seat near the front of the plane, row 10. I was right at the back at 28. And when we got to the airport security, there was one guy checking everybody. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to collar me and he's going to charge me. I think Ryanair charges €75 for taking extra bags on if you got too much stuff. The good thing about being at the Billund store is there is a Lego shop within the airport, so, and they give out the same Lego bags as the Lego house do. So I had these 2 big Lego bags. Even though I bought them at the Lego house, I was always going to say, oh, I've got them at the airport. Anyway, got to this guy. He wanted my passport, my boarding card, did all of that, had 2 massive Lego bags on the floor, didn't even look at them, wasn't even bothered, and through both Duncan and I went, not even a glance from anybody, nobody was bothered. I was getting lots of looks from the other passengers. They was thinking, oh, they've bought a lot of Lego, they left anything for anybody else. So I was getting quite a few funny looks from other people with these 2 massive bags. And of course the next thing then is then you got to get on the plane, and because I was sat at the back of the plane, what they wanted you to do was you were on a gantry, to go out onto the gantry, go down some stairs, go outside again, go back up some stairs and get on the back of the plane. I just thought, I'm not doing that, because these bags by this time were really starting to get on my nerves. I mean, as much as I love Lego, it was really quite difficult. So I just sort of followed Duncan. The plan was hopefully to sit next to Duncan, because when we'd looked earlier, there were some seats next to him that were still free. Anyway, when we got on the plane, we got to Duncan's seat, and there were 2 people. He was in the middle, and there were 2 people either side. So that put my plans. They had to go out the window, because I then had to go to to my own seat at the back. So I'd kind of got on at the front of the plane, and there were people getting on at the back. Luckily, right by where Duncan was sitting, there was an overhead, and of course, because with Ryanair, people just don't take that much. They won't pay for priority, so you tend to find that there's a lot of space. So even on a flight that was probably 80% full, there was still a lot of overhead locker space available. And I literally saw this space, put my 2 bags up over row 10 or 11 or what it was, and then went down the other end of the plane and sat in my proper seat, and sort of said to Duncan, just keep an eye on my Lego, make sure no one nicks it. But it was absolutely fine. And again, nobody on the plane batted an eyelid. The Ryanair staff, they didn't care. I just had these massive 2 bags, and nobody said anything, so I got away with it. And then when we got back into passport control, the flight was a little bit late. The flight was also a little bit dodgy at one stage. We were flying over. There was half an hour late. It was quite a clear day. The pilot had said it was very calm and there wouldn't be any problems. And I was a little bit naughty, and I turned my my GPS on when I got over the UK, because I'm quite interested in geography and where we are, so I like to see where I am and where I'm flying over. I had a window seat, which was great, so I could look out the window. We circled around Stansted because we were coming from the east, and we needed to fly into the runway from the west because that's the way the winds were going or whatever. And we went over the M11 motorway, which is very close to where the airport runway is, and we sort of were going down. Suddenly the aircraft, he put his boosters on and he started going up, and I'm starting to panic a little bit. Now I'm quite I don't get too worried about flights. I've had a couple of dodgy landings years and years ago where they were quite scary. And when they start doing things out of the ordinary, you do start to panic a little bit. So he put his thrusters on, and then sort of went over the airport. So there must have been some kind of issue on the airport itself, on the runway, where he couldn't do the landing. And anyway, he went round in a big circle, and I could see where we were. I had the GPS on. We went on this huge arc. What was interesting, I could see out the window, and there were other planes doing the same thing. So that did calm me down a little bit. And then we sort of came into land again, round in a big circle, back over the M11 motorway, and landed on the runway. And it wasn't until we landed that the pilot came on and said, "Oh, really sorry about that, but we couldn't land and I had to go round and blah blah blah." I don't think it was anything major, but it does kind of unnerve you a little bit when something like that happens. But anyway, we got there, we landed okay, we got off the plane. I was literally the last person off the plane because obviously everybody was getting off the back of the plane. I couldn't barge past everybody, so I had to wait until everybody at the back had got off, and then go down the front of the plane, get my bags and walk down the stairs. I think I got a sarcastic comment from one of the air stewards. He says said something about oh, that's right, I got to the top of the stairs and I said, oh, because they're quite steep, they use their own plane stairs, Ryanair, for when you go down, they're quite steep. And I said, oh, this could be fun, because the wind was blowing a bit as well. And the air steward said, oh, good luck with that. Thinking, thanks, mate. Anyway, you got on the bus, so I wasn't any slower than anybody else. I literally got on a bus. There were 2 buses, took us back to the terminal, and then you have to go through security check, big long lines, and obviously other flights come in. They're all automated, but people always kind of mess it up. You sort of have to put your passport on this screen. It scans it, you have to sort of stare at the screen, and it looks at your photo and then lets you through. And loads of people can't work them. You get people stood there, and eventually they spend about 10 minutes trying to do it, give up, and then walk off and just do it manually anyway. So that always holds things up. So eventually we got through that. Duncan had already got through, so we just decided to go straight for it and go for the nothing to declare. So we got to the nothing to declare, and at the back of the nothing to declare section, everybody was walking through, there was loads of policemen, absolutely loads, and there must have been about 15 policemen. So I don't know if there was a flight coming in from a dodgy location, but there was certainly kind of plenty of police presence there, and I'm thinking, oh God. And it's one of those things where you're walking through the airport, and you're like, oh, don't make eye contact, oh, don't look at anybody. Oh. So I sort of was chatting to Duncan, trying to be as natural as possible, probably failing miserably. And one of the lady policemen, she said, oh, you've got a lot of Lego, and I'm just like, yes, we have, haven't we? And walked off. So we didn't even get collared for being stopped for looking at how much we got in goods. I think the police there are really more interested in looking for dodgy substances, maybe more cigarettes and alcohol than you're allowed, obviously drugs and things like that. So that's what they're looking for more than anything. I think a bit of Lego, they just don't care. They really don't care. Now, I'm not saying that on a different day, if you were to do it in the middle of a day, maybe they'd be more strict about these things. I think because it was a late night flight, people that time of the day just can't be bothered. So maybe that was why I was so lucky with it all. But I was a little bit concerned. The flight was very, very busy, and also the customs thing as well. But in the end of the day, it all worked out okay. So, am I going to be able to make any money on this Lego that I bought? And the answer is probably yes. So I have bought one of these sets for myself to build. Obviously, I've got my own Lego sets as well from the Fabuland. I'm hopefully going to sell on most of this pick-a-brick stuff as well. So I've got quite a few sets to sell, and I have had a look at the aftermarket here in the UK, and these do quite well. I know the Pirates, they go for around about 140-ish pounds at shows and things like that. Even these sets here, which were reduced, they go for around about 110. Signed ducks, difficult one to price up those, but yeah, I think they're certainly going to go 130ish, maybe a little bit less, and the Fabuland sets, they're quite new, so again they're going for quite a high value, probably again around the 130ish pound mark. So I will sort of double check my prices before I sort of go to these shows. But even taking out the set that I'm going to build myself, which of course is part of my sort of costs, I also looked at the other costs as well. So all of the costs, so the flight was £49, the car park was £31, the hotel was £36. I spent around about £20 or £40 in petrol, which is £20 each, or gas. So I was to factor that in as well. I did a bit of food shopping as well. I had £6 at Sainsbury's for some snacks, £15 for the Toby Carvery. On the Friday night we had the lunch, which was about £12. We spent some money at the supermarket to get some drinks and snacks, and of course I picked up some spunk. When you go to Denmark, you always have to get some spunk. They're little wine gums, if you don't know what they are. Spunk is the brand name. If you don't know what spunk is, Google it. I think it's very much a British, and I think if you're outside of the UK you may not get the link, but anyway, it's a bit of a rude word. So we've got some supermarket. I've even put the cost of the Fabuland figures in my cost. They were around about £13, and then I paid about £15 for dinner at the airport. So in total, my total costs were £202. So just over £200 for all of the flights, the petrol, the transport, all of that kind of stuff. And I think I've probably got some bus fares in there as well. I think I'd included that as well. So all of that was sort of included. And then obviously we've got the price of the sets minus the discount. So of the £527 that I paid for the sets and the £202 for the other costs, all the transport and flights and stuff, the total that I spent was £730, just under £730. Now obviously there was £335 worth of discount on there from my insider points, so that certainly helped, but I reckon, as a sort of a general guess, if I can sell all of these sets and even the parts as well for kind of what I want to get for them, then I'm looking at just over £1,400, maybe a little bit more. Obviously when you sell things on, there are costs involved as well, but I think generally that's not a bad price. If I can sort of turn £730 into over £1,400, that's not bad. Obviously you could say, oh, hang on a second, you could have used those insider points for something else. Yes, I could, but even then it would have been, what, £1,100? Maybe just under £1,100, so there's still a little bit of profit in there as well, even if I was to sort of sell these on at the price that I think these might get at shows and things. So was it worth it? Yes, it definitely was. Will I do it again? Hopefully. The problem with Ryanair is they're actually going to be pulling out completely out of Billund in Denmark. The Danish government have imposed some kind of 25% tax on all flights. I would imagine at any airport there's all sorts of wranglings and things to and froing and going on, and yeah, so Ryanair have basically thrown the dummies out the pram and said, right, so they had a whole hub there where they had pilots and staff, and they've completely pulled out of Denmark altogether because of this 25% tax or subsidy or whatever it is that the Danish government have sort of introduced. And so unfortunately Ryanair won't be flying to Billund anymore from the end of March as well. So I was very, very lucky. I bought my flights in January, and I was very lucky that I managed to still, go on my trip before the cut-off, because I think anybody that booked any flights from April onwards, they've just had their flights cancelled completely, so that would have been a disaster if that hadn't have happened. There are obviously other ways of getting to Denmark. I could drive across again. The problem with that is it's very expensive. You'd probably incorporate it as a holiday, like I did last time. I stayed for a week in a really nice wooden chalet, which was lovely by the coast, and had a couple of days out to Billund. But if you want to do just a day trip, I think it's going to be certainly more difficult, and certainly more difficult to make sort of money out of this, simply because all the flights that are currently available, either from British Airways or Norwegian, they are very much more expensive. The plus side is that British Airways do fly from Heathrow, which is a lot closer to where I live. I actually have to drive past Heathrow to get another hour and 20 minutes onto Stansted. So if I can get a flight from Heathrow, or even better, Southampton, if any airlines want to ever fly from Southampton or Bournemouth to Billund, please do, because it would be really, really handy for me if you did. But that's probably not going to happen. Another thing I've thought about, so my friend Duncan collects Avios points. He buys loads and loads of other stuff as well, and he always gets his cash back using Avios points. I talk about Quidco and Top Cashback. Well, instead of doing those, you can do Avios as well, and that's like a British Airways members points club thing. And there are ways you can get additional Avios points by signing up for credit cards and things like that. So that might be an avenue I look into. I think Duncan had a look, and you needed 19,000 points in June to get to and from Billund, and then pay £1. You literally pay £1, and then the rest is an Avios points. So there are ways of doing this without maybe having to pay for flights and go with other airlines. How relaxed they're going to be about bringing back loads of Lego in the hold, I really don't know. That's another thing you've got to think about and have to cross that bridge. But it is a shame that Ryanair aren't going to be flying there. It just means that I probably won't be flying Ryanair again. It's just one of those things. You take these opportunities when you can. So yes, I definitely probably will be going back to the Lego house and the Lego house shop at some stage, but who knows when and where that will be and how I will even get across. But hopefully there'll be another budget airline decide that they want to do flights to Billund. There's a lot of people that go to Billund. I was very surprised how busy the flights were, even just to go to the Lego house. So you can imagine when the theme parks open as well. I'm assuming there's a lot of people that will be flying from the UK. So I'm sure there will be another budget airline that will hopefully pick up some cheaper flights. But yeah, just a bit of a shame that there's no more Ryanair flights. As much as I slag off Ryanair, and they're a bit cheap, and they are what they are. And I've done a couple of these trips with them now, and yeah, they've both worked out very, very well. So I think that is pretty much everything that I've covered. If there was anything I've not covered and you wanted to ask me in the comments, please do. I hope I've covered everything. I have already had a couple of people ask me if they'd be willing to, the Fabuland sets in particular, to sort of send them. So I'll buy that off you and you can send it to me. I don't do that. I know a lot of people ask me for things like that, and as much as I'd like to do that, as you've probably seen from my videos, I don't do post and packing. I don't do eBay. I don't send things out. I literally go to shows. So if you do want these sets, and I know if you do want these sets, and I know I'm based in the south of England, that's where most of my shows are. I'm sorry if you're in the north of England or Scotland or Wales or wherever you are. I'm sorry if I don't go to shows near to where you live, but that's just the way that I do things. So as nice as it is that people would like to sort of ask and say, can you send these sets here, there and everywhere, I don't do that. So if I ever get anything like this again, please don't ask, because it will be a no, unfortunately. I do have to sort of say no to people. So anyway, that's covered that as well. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed the day. The day was fantastic. It was great to go with somebody else. Duncan's a great travel companion, really easy going. We both sort of like the same things. We both had the same thing in mind. It also helps cover some of the costs as well, whether it's the parking or the or this, that and the other, some of the food and that. And it was just a very, very nice day, and it did help that the weather on that particular day was absolutely beautiful. It was really nice. It was quite mild for the time of year. Just a very, very nice day altogether. I think the only downside for me, the only thing that was just a little bit rubbish, was carrying the bags. They generally were really heavy. My hands were red raw at the end of the day from those rope strings on the bag. Yes, there's other ways of doing this, maybe bring better bags, but you want the Lego bags so you can say that you bought the stuff from the airport. But anyway, so there's lots of sort of... So that was the only downside, was lugging the stuff back. That was the only thing which was just a little bit of a pain. Everything else worked quite okay. Yes, it was a long drive back. I had a 3-hour drive back when we finished from Stansted Airport to get back home, but definitely worth doing. I'd definitely do it again. I might do it a similar kind of thing where I either go to the airport in the morning and either stay in Denmark and fly back if the flights don't work out, or you could stay in the UK on the way back. But there's lots of things to think about and how you would do these things. Yeah, definitely worth it if you ever get the opportunity to do that, whether it's before the end of March, before Ryanair stop their cheap flights, or if you use another airline. Definitely worth doing. But maybe hopefully some of these hints and tips will help you to make some decisions about whether you do this in the future. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on for quite a long time. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very, very much for watching if you found it to the end of this video. There will be more videos. I'll be doing hauls and Lego store visits in the future, so keep an eye out for those. Quick reminder, I will be at the Bournemouth Brick Festival, which is March 23rd, which is a week next Sunday. So if you're in and around the Bournemouth area and you go into that event, I will be there, and I will be selling some of these sets as well. So that's the place to go. I won't be taking all of them. Duncan will be taking some of his sets as well. So there'll be a couple of us there selling some of the Lego house sets. So if you're after some sets in particular, that's the place to be. So hopefully we'll see you there. But that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.